Out of all the villains in DC, there's one whose pure evil and charisma have earned him the spot as one of the most popular characters in comics history. A monster born from the darkest version of Batman himself. A hero stripped of hope and rebuilt as something far more terrifying. This is the story of the Batman Who Laughs. The story starts with a man wearing leather, metal, and an all-too-familiar grin, sitting in front of a table. And if you had no idea who this is, then the bat ears and cowl would probably give it away. We see him talk to someone we don't know just yet. Only this person has been through hell, based on how battered he looks. This grotesque, grinning man is none other than the Batman Who Laughs. And right now, he tells the person in front of him how the tale he's about to tell is very different from what we've heard thousands of times before in the DC universe. The Batman Who Laughs story begins, and we get transported to a world that's both familiar and different. A world known as Earth 22. In the middle of this alternate Earth's Gotham City, we discover that the Joker has already taken over. That is to say, the clown Prince of Crime has taken out most who opposed him, be it vigilantes, law enforcement, or even fellow criminals. At this moment, the Joker might even be able to finally put an end to his greatest enemy, Batman. This is because right now the Joker has the Dark Knight subdued. However, in typical Joker fashion, he wants to savor every moment of this impending victory, so he makes Batman watch something truly disturbing. A long line of random families are being executed by the Joker, all in the hope that Batman would finally break his code. Because, as with most other universes, the Joker doesn't want to take out Batman. He wants to prove him wrong. Earth 22's Bruce Wayne might be one of the greatest superheroes, but a man can only take so much. And in the end, Joker gets what he wants. Bruce puts his hands on the villain's neck and breaks his one and only rule, to never take a life. However, there's a twist. Joker, in his final moments, manages to cover the Dark Knight in a cloud of his trademark toxin. For now, the heat of the moment makes Bruce fail to realize the true consequences of this gas. Regardless, the deed has been done, but Batman has killed someone. A couple of days pass and we find Batman and Superman deliberating on what they should do to all the children that Joker had orphaned during his final scheme. Superman mentions that one of the children they rescued almost took out the psychologist treating her. Curiously, Batman uncharacteristically almost breaks out in laughter when he hears this. After a few more days, we find ourselves in the Batcave, where Batgirl, Red Hood, Robin, and Nightwing complain about how Batman's newest training robots seem to have gone overboard this time. But they're not gathered here for that, as the Caped Crusader informs them about something that might potentially destroy the Bat family. As it turns out, Bruce had been feeling the effects of the toxin he inhaled during his final confrontation with the Joker. And it's a concoction designed to affect Batman's very neurological structure, effectively turning him into a newly reborn version of his greatest nemesis. Of course, this is met only with compassion and concern from his fellow vigilantes. They suggest finding an antidote and containing Bruce in a secure area until then. But this is where we discover the extent to which the Joker's toxin had affected Batman. As he puts it, he already knew his closest friends and family were going to attempt to save him, but this wasn't the reason he had gathered them here. And just like that, the Caped Crusader breaks another one of his rules, to never use a gun. All of a sudden, Batman pulls out a couple of light machine guns from his cape and starts raining bullets on the Bat family. And soon after, Gotham's greatest heroes are no more. A week passes and we find out that the now insane Jokerized Batman has also taken out nearly all of Earth's greatest heroes, the Justice League, all except one, the Man of Steel himself. However, at this exact moment, we can see that Superman has also been subdued. Bruce then shows him his wife and son, Lois and Jonathan. This would be a bitter family reunion, however, because shortly after that, Batman tosses Superman and Jonathan a shard of black kryptonite. This drives both of them mad, as they mindlessly take each other out along with poor Lois. And with all the Earth's greatest heroes gone, this Jokerized Bruce Wayne of Earth 22 has finally become the Batman Who Laughs. Eventually, this Batman reached world domination aided by his own squad of Jokerized boy wonders. And like a true conqueror who has run out of things to bring under his heel, the Batman Who Laughs can't help but feel a tinge of pain, knowing that only boredom is ahead. But then, yet another curious thing happens on Earth 22, as the Batman Who Laughs meets the Dark God Barbados. Barbados tells him that the fun isn't over yet. Earth 22 might be a smoldering wasteland, but there are other worlds out there in the multiverse. The Dark God tells him about the Dark Multiverse, and how there's a particular version of the world where the true Batman resides. This pleases Batman Who Laughs, and he takes Barbados up on his offer to bring their nightmares to the multiverse. In the present, the Batman Who Laughs tells his companion how Earth Zero is about to witness all the nightmares and horrors the multiverse has to offer. From there, he gloats about how he has basically become the perfect version of himself, a man who has Batman's mind and the Joker's chaos. As this exceedingly evil version of Bruce Wayne puts it, a Batman who laughs is a Batman who always wins. And so, the Batman Who Laughs becomes Barbados' most trusted lieutenant. From there, he gathered more and more corrupted versions of the Dark Knight throughout the Dark Multiverse to add to their ranks. Little do the greatest heroes of the DCU know that chaos and evil shall soon rain down upon Earth Zero. However, before that, we take a brief trip to the past as Hawkman tells the tale of 3 tribes that first appeared in the world. Namely, these are the tribe of the Bear, the tribe of the Wolf, and the tribe of the Eagle. These factions formed what was known as the Age of Stone. But as Carter puts it, there was a 4th tribe wiped from the histories of the world. One born of darkness, one that gave birth to all things grim and terrible. All of a sudden, a shadowy entity drenches the insignias of the other tribes in blood. As Carter tells of the beginning of a new age, the Age of Metal. In the present, the Justice League is on Mongul's war world where Batman discovers a method to defeat the tyrant with the help of one of Toyman's inventions. It's business as usual, and Earth's greatest heroes subdue Mongul. They make their way back to Earth, but only bad news greets them when they discover that a huge chunk of Gotham City has been destroyed when a mountain-like structure appeared in the middle of it. As one would expect, the Justice League decided to investigate the structure. Inside it, they discover a handful of people who have been cryogenically suspended. Curiously, their fellow superhero Red Tornado is also there. In true superhero comic fashion, a superhero on superhero showdown soon ensues when Kendra Saunders, the current Lady Blackhawk, arrives inside the mountain. Of course, everything works out in the end, and the 2 groups decide to calm down after a bit of fisticuffs. Kendra then takes the Justice League to her home base, Black Hawk Island, where she debriefs them about Carter Hall's discoveries. What she tells them is cause for concern, as she explains that the same element that she and Carter used to wield, called Ninth Metal, isn't what it seems to be. According to her, Carter's research revealed that Ninth Metal was born from evil and inevitably leads to it. More concerning is the fact that there are 4 other so-called divine metals out there, each born out of darkness. And these metals can be found somewhere older than the multiverse itself, a jet black ocean on which the rest of everything in the multiverse floats. It's a place called the Dark Multiverse. But what Kendra tells them next is even more disturbing, as she reveals that Red Tornado mentioned a great dragon residing in the dark, Barbados. However, the worst of all is that her own studies revealed that someone from the Wayne family would kickstart Barbados' arrival in their world. Things heat up when Kendra attempts to arrest Bruce Wayne, Batman, with the help of her Blackhawks, in order to make sure he doesn't bring Barbados into their world. But as you'd expect, the Caped Crusader escapes and takes the chunk of Ninth Metal with him. We then discover more details about this oncoming Age of Metal. According to Carter's findings, it will start with a tear in reality that would allow dark energy to enter the universe. From there, anyone with a connection to Ninth Metal would see glimpses of the Great Dragon and his dreadful minions. Barbados' army would search for the so-called Son of Wayne, referring to none other than Bruce. And when everything is set, Barbados and the Dark Multiverse would consume everything. It's here we learn what came of Carter. As it turns out, he has actually entered the Dark Multiverse, all with the goal of following the ways of the Age of Stone's tribes. Somewhere else, Bruce conducts his own research into the Ninth Metal he stole from Kendra, and soon learns that all this talk about Barbados and the Dark Multiverse is true. All of a sudden, a man appears behind him. He introduces himself as Dream, one of the Endless, before telling Batman that the nightmare has started. Meanwhile, Superman and the rest of the Justice League attempt to locate Batman. Their search eventually bears fruit, as Vic Stone, aka Cyborg, notifies them that Batman's current location is somewhere in the rainforests of the Amazon. Superman eventually catches up to him and attempts to bring Batman in. However, the Dark Knight's mind is set. According to him, there's only one metal remaining in all of creation preventing Barbados and his army's arrival in their world. And if Bruce comes into contact with it, he and the Dark God will switch places, effectively bringing Barbados to this world. Superman then discovers that the Bruce Wayne in front of him is just a decoy, and it's actually Clayface. In reality, Bruce is actually inside the tomb of Khufu, and it's here we discover that Bruce has actually stolen something from the League, the infant version of the Dreadlord Darkseid. The Man of Steel and Wonder Woman finally catch up to their old friend. Of course, Bruce refuses to come with them, explaining that he plans on using baby Darkseid's abilities to travel back in time and take out Barbados before he can rise to power. However, his plans are soon shattered once he realizes that the tomb they're in isn't actually the tomb of Khufu. Instead, they're inside the tomb of Hathset, and we find out that Batman's villains, the Court of Owls, have set a trap for him. What's more is that the court is in on Barbados' plans. They end up drenching Batman in the liquefied form of the last metal meant to bring the Dark God to their world, an element called Batmanium. With everything set, Bruce's body becomes a literal portal, and from it, the Batman Who Laughs comes out along with Barbados and other dark versions of Batman. They instantly wreak havoc inside the tomb, taking out even the members of the court. However, Superman and Wonder Woman remain defiant. They stand up to Barbados and the Batman Who Laughs, but it only takes a second for the Dark God to sap the life force from the two heroes. While Batman Who Laughs rejoices at their impending invasion, Superman and Wonder Woman are then captured and trapped to the side of a tower in the middle of Metropolis. They eventually manage to escape, and we learn that it has been 7 days since the Batman Who Laughs and Barbados had begun their invasion. They've started turning innocent people into monstrous creatures, even going so far as to transform Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen, and even the love of his life, Lois Lane. They soon learn Barbados' location, the Gotham City, so the Man of Steel heads there to put a stop to the madness. He does reach Gotham City, but one of the corrupted Batmen, known as the Destroyer, stops him from getting close to the Dark God. Superman then meets the Batman Who Laughs, who tells him everything he and the other evil versions of Batman had done in their respective homeworlds. That is, they've each taken out their own versions of Superman. Still, the Man of Steel attempts to square up to these dangerous adversaries. However, given that they're literally made out of dark matter, none of his attacks even leave a dent. Eventually, Superman is taken to safety when Barry Allen, the Flash, takes him away through a portal. The Man of Steel is then taken to the Oblivion Bar, a place outside of conventional space and one of the few remaining safe havens in their universe. What Clark hears from the remaining heroes of the DC Universe is more than alarming, as we discover that the Batman Who Laughs and Barbados have basically taken over every major city in the world. Even the places that are still left standing are slowly being conquered by the Dark God and his army. But as superhero stories go, there's a silver lining to be had here. According to Green Arrow, there's a way to defeat the Batman Who Laughs and everyone from his dimension, and that's with the use of ninth metal. And so, the remaining heroes of the DCU set out to find the last few remaining deposits of ninth metal remaining in their universe. Just in time, too, because the Batman Who Laughs and the rest of the Dark Knights are raring to ambush them. The Dark Knights eventually break into the bar, and even though our heroes manage to escape in time, the Batman Who Laughs and his allies still get hold of its proprietor, Nightmaster. The Batman Who Laughs may not have taken out DC's champions this day, but a win is a win, so he celebrates it by having one of the other Dark Knights, Dawnbreaker, use the jukebox to play a number. And if you're wondering why this maniacal, grinning version of Batman is even happier than usual, that's because he's finally found the last piece missing in his plan. You see, he actually managed to lure Superman to his domain, making him think that he could rescue Bruce in their home dimension. But in truth, he just fell for Barbados and the Batman Who Laughs plan all along, to harvest the energy that the Dark God needs to complete their goal. And this energy resides within the body of none other than the Man of Steel. A weakened, nearly corrupted Bruce Wayne is swallowed by dark energy after this, and he realizes that Barbados and the Batman Who Laughs will now cover everything in their own brand of darkness. Still, DC's greatest heroes will not go down without a fight. The original Bruce Wayne, still trapped in the dark multiverse with Clark, eventually manages to escape with the help of the Sandman, aka Dream of the Endless, and bring the weakened Superman with him. While all this is happening, the rest of Earth Zero's champions continue their respective quests to look for ninth metal. As for Bruce and Clark, they're sent to the Sandman's own domain called the Dreaming, where they learn there's an element more powerful than ninth metal that could stop the Batman Who Laughs. As Dream puts it, they'd have to travel to a place called the World Forge in order to locate this element. The World Forge is pretty much the place where all universes are born. Superman and Batman eventually reach the World Forge, only to find out that it's already been ravaged by the darkness. What's worse is they come across a creature claiming itself to be their old fellow superhero, Carter Hall. But this version of Carter has become a grotesque monster who stands as Barbados' personal guardian. While all this is happening, we find that the Batman Who Laughs and Barbados are having their own meeting in Gotham. The Dark God expresses his concerns about Superman's escape, which halted their progress in submerging Earth Zero into the abyss. On top of that, Barbados knows that DC's champions are getting ever closer to finding the element that could harm them and foil their plans. Still, the Batman Who Laughs remains confident that they'll come out on top in the end. With that distinct grin on his face, he tells Barbados that it's up to him to bring their dark multiverse army in full force to this world. Now, as all the other champions of the mainline DCU do their best to gather the tools they need to defeat the Batman Who Laughs, we see that one of them has actually fulfilled their mission, and it's none other than Diana Prince, aka Wonder Woman. You see, she's finally located Hawkman's old 9th metal mace at the Rock of Eternity and has used it to knock out Black Adam, an anti-hero who has chosen to side with Barbados and the Dark Knights. And although everything seems to be going well, the Batman Who Laughs soon arrives and shoots her with a bullet made from the same kind of metal that her trademark invisible jet is composed of. The Batman Who Laughs then takes this opportunity to have a little chat with Wonder Woman, telling her all about the alternate realities he's seen where they've had various types of relationships, from enemies to lovers and everything in between. The Batman Who Laughs then reassures her that the end of everything is inevitable, and it's going to be one hell of a loud party when it happens. And say what you will about the Batman Who Laughs, but the undeniable truth is that he is incredibly smart, as he reveals that he has already expected the DC heroes to look for the 9th metal and has prepared accordingly. That is to say, he had set up another trap to take out all the DC champions. Firstly, his plan allows the Batman Who Laughs to grab hold of a weapon called the Phoenix Cannon, along with the superhero Plastic Man. He then plans on using these two to taint the core of Earth-Zero itself. Long story short, the DCU is about to become Barbados and his army's dark playground. Also, these aren't just empty threats, because Wonder Woman would soon find out that the rest of the Dark Multiverse army has arrived in their world. DC heroes fight valiantly against Barbados and his army of Dark Multiverse monsters, but nearly all of them fall at the hands of their adversaries. And remember that hostage the Batman Who Laughs had at the beginning of our story? Yeah, that guy makes another appearance here, as the deranged version of the Caped Crusader slowly peels off his bandages and gets ready to marvel at his own work. Meanwhile, Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman manage to reunite and get hold of the element called the 10th metal, perhaps the most powerful tool that could put a stop to Barbados and his legion. As you'd expect, a climactic clash soon ensues between DC's heroes and the creatures of the Dark Multiverse. Barbados notices that this turn of events might tip the scales to his disadvantage, so he calls for the Batman Who Laughs' aid. And it's here we find out that the Batman Who Laughs hostage is none other than the cosmic entity known as the Monitor. On top of that, Batman Who Laughs reveals that he actually plans to fuse the Monitor's energy with his counterpart, the Anti-Monitor. Then, the Batman Who Laughs would inject a third component in this mix, which happens to be the dark energy coursing through his own body. Yeah, it's a pretty convoluted, almost Looney Tunes style plan, but its goal is sinister: to make it so that nothing in all of reality will ever spring life again, effectively drowning everything, and I mean everything, in pure, uncut darkness. Thankfully, the OG Batman arrives just in time to put a stop to the Batman Who Laughs' final solution before he could enact it. The two get into a scuffle, but the Batman Who Laughs comes out on top when he manages to pierce Bruce with a good old-fashioned bullet to the abdomen. However, in one of the most surprising twists in the story, the Batman Who Laughs also ends up getting gunned down by none other than the original Joker himself. For the first time in perhaps a long, long time, the Batman Who Laughs was not able to account for this particular event. After all, even though he is an insane version of Batman, there's no denying that he's still Bruce. As such, he never expected that someone like the Joker would side with Batman and basically help him. And with that, Joker gives the Batman Who Laughs a solid beating, while Bruce takes the Monitor to safety. Meanwhile, the rest of DC's heroes have taken out the other Dark Knights. Batman then arrives with the Monitor, who tells them that there's a way they could defeat Barbados and prevent their world from sinking into the Dark Multiverse. As the Monitor puts it, the 10th metal exists in everyone in the world. So if they can tap into that and harness its power, they could place Earth-Zero to its original position in the multiverse and prevent it from being gobbled up by Barbados' dark domain. And I kid you not, the Justice League manages to finally put a stop to Barbados and the Batman Who Laughs plans by literally hugging it out with one another. This in turn takes Earth-Zero to safety and brings Barbados defeat. In the aftermath, DC champions also managed to break the limits of the multiverse, which effectively expands it. Make no mistake though, Barbados might have been taken out, but this is not the last time we see the Batman Who Laughs. The Batman Who Laughs would re-emerge not long after his and Barbados' failed invasion of Earth-Zero, and we first see him with another evil version of Batman known as the Grim Knight. They go to Arkham Asylum, where the Batman Who Laughs kills Joker in cold blood. However, here's the thing. the Joker is one smart psycho, as he actually switched places with one of his cronies, knowing full well that the Batman Who Laughs was going to hunt him down. In truth, OG Joker has set up a meeting with Batman inside the Batcave. Surprisingly enough, the Joker puts a bullet through his own heart, which releases yet another cloud of Joker toxin. And this time, it hits OG Batman. But in yet another surprising twist, we see that the Joker actually did this in order to help the Dark Knight find out the truth behind the Batman Who Laughs motives. With that, OG Bruce's skin goes white as he cackles uncontrollably, signaling that he's about to turn into a Jokerized version of himself, just like the Batman Who Laughs. In turn, Bruce slows down his transformation with the help of antidotes he crafted as a cure for the Joker toxin. Eventually, Batman would surmise that the Batman Who Laughs has been transporting Bruce Waynes from the other realities to Earth Zero and taking them out. Still, the question remains as to why he's doing it. We also discover that Bruce has made arrangements within Gotham to provide aid to its citizens, should a deadly plague strike the city, an initiative more or less called the Last Laugh. And to conduct this operation, Bruce has deemed Wayne Tower as its central point. But things take a dark turn when the Batman Who Laughs attempts to sabotage Wayne Tower. You see, the Batman Who Laughs' true plan is to infect all of Gotham with a serum that would send it into chaos. This serum would be made with the DNA he got from all the other alternate Bruce Waynes he took out and brought to this world. However, the one thing standing between the Batman Who Laughs and his goal is Bruce's Last Laugh protocol. So destroying that would mean he could proceed with his insanely evil scheme. Bruce catches wind of this and the two Caped Crusaders get into a close quarters fight. Eventually, OG Bruce manages to beat the Batman Who Laughs, but with an entirely new martial art that he came up with, all with the goal of preventing his opponent from guessing his next move. However, even with OG Batman taking the weight, the Batman Who Laughs confidant, the Grim Knight, gives him an assist, which distracts Bruce long enough for the Batman Who Laughs to successfully destroy Wayne Tower and make the Last Laugh initiative almost inoperational. Almost. Bruce then goes back to the Batcave and wails at the recovering Joker, who was ultimately given first aid by Alfred before he could succumb to his gunshot wound. As the Clown Prince of Crime puts it, there's only one guy in the world who knows what the Batman Who Laughs is truly planning. We find out that this person happens to be the one and only James Gordon Jr., one of Gotham's greatest psychopaths and serial killers who's currently on the road to recovery. Oh, and he happens to be Commissioner Gordon's son, too. Both Commissioner Gordon and Batman pay James a visit to get help in stopping the Batman Who Laughs plans. However, it doesn't really work out. For one, the treatment that James Jr. has been undergoing has pretty much dulled his analytical mind. So instead of being a criminal genius, he's just a regular guy stocking shelves as part of his recovery program. Then there's also the fact that this meeting is sabotaged by the Batman Who Laughs partner, the Grim Knight. A fight ensues between him and OG Batman, and we find out that the Grim Knight is actually here for Commissioner Gordon. In the end, the Grim Knight kidnaps the older James, while Batman and James Jr. work together to try and see how they can stop the Batman Who Laughs. And while all this is happening, the Batman Who Laughs continues his spree as he ambushes Oswald Cobblepot, aka the Penguin, inside the Iceberg Lounge. Meanwhile, James Jr. and Batman have a private conversation that ends with the Dark Knight realizing he's been thinking about this whole Batman Who Laughs case all wrong. All this time, he's been trying to solve the problem as Batman. And just to make matters worse, we find out from Alfred that the Joker has escaped the Batcave. Now, Bruce's solution to the problem is super extreme. Remember, he's currently infected with the Joker toxin that could effectively turn him into an Earth Zero version of the Batman Who Laughs. All this time, he's been preventing the toxin from taking over his mind and body. But now, Batman has realized that maybe the only way to finally understand the Batman Who Laughs and put a stop to him is by allowing himself to actually become Jokerized. So when he gets back to the Batcave, Alfred is shocked to find out that the Dark Knight has destroyed all the remaining anti-Joker toxin serums in their stash, which was the only thing preventing Bruce from going insane. Alfred soon finds Bruce down in his workshop and realizes that he has fully given in to the Joker toxin and even crafted his own visor that eerily resembles the same one that the Batman Who Laughs wears. Now, if you ever wondered what exactly the Batman Who Laughs visor does, well, allow me to explain. In truth, the visor is made up of dark metal from the Dark Multiverse, which allows the Batman Who Laughs to filter out dark energy and focus only on what he wants to see. OG Bruce has been mining what remains of dark metal from when Barbados and the Batman Who Laughs attempted to invade the DCU. He then used these pieces to build his own visor, which would then allow him to focus on the Batman Who Laughs, locate him, and put a stop to his plans. However, Alfred, being the concerned father figure that he is, really can't see how Bruce allowing himself to become Jokerized and put on this visor would help. So he takes it from him and the two men get into a fist fight. And believe me when I say this, if Alfred ever decided to put on the cape and cowl, he'd absolutely kill it as Gotham's very own British Batman, because the man can throw hands as he gives Bruce a good spanking to prevent him from using the visor. Still, they clear things up in the end when Bruce makes Alfred realize that there really isn't any other way to stop the Batman Who Laughs. So, Bruce proceeds with his plan to use the visor and counter the Batman Who Laughs' next move. Meanwhile, the Batman Who Laughs has Commissioner Gordon hostage, while James Jr. informs Batman that he's narrowed down their enemy's potential targets, where he'd release his serums. We also discover that Batman has made a deal with the Joker to take him out if he ever fully succumbs to the toxin and becomes this world's Batman Who Laughs, a task that Joker gladly accepted. In any case, the Dark Knight eventually locates the Batman Who Laughs' next move to be inside Blackgate Prison. At Blackgate, the Caped Crusader meets the head correctional officer, David Harper, who helps him look for the portal. All of a sudden, Batman is transported to an alternate world where he meets his alternate self, a Bruce Wayne who happens to be the warden of Blackgate Penitentiary. And while this is happening, the Grim Knight decides to go off on his own as he frees Commissioner Gordon from his restraints. He's not about to let the old man go, however. Instead, he plans on hunting him down like an animal. Back at Blackgate, both OG Batman and Warden Bruce get transported back to Earth Zero. The Dark Knight asks Officer Harper to keep an eye on Warden Bruce when a bunch of other guards mistake OG Batman for the Batman Who Laughs. Somewhere else, we find out that Commissioner Gordon is being chased by a bunch of dark multiverse Robins, and they've started to sink their teeth into the old man. At Blackgate, the Dark Knight is shocked to see Officer Harper take Warden Bruce's life. Harper then reveals that he's actually none other than the Batman Who Laughs, using a virtual mask to hide his true identity. The Batman Who Laughs then puts his virtual mask back on and tells all the other Blackgate officers to take out the real Batman, fooling them into thinking that he's the Batman Who Laughs. Batman does his best to fend off the Blackgate guards' attacks, but there are just too many of them. They continue accusing OG Bruce of being the Batman Who Laughs, so he comes up with the bright idea to lean into it and scare the hell out of the officers by threatening their families. This distracts the cops long enough for Bruce to escape Blackgate, while Commissioner Gordon continues to get away from the rabid Dark Robins chasing after him. Commissioner Gordon eventually escapes and is rescued by James Jr. While all this is happening, the real Batman Who Laughs pays the Court of Owls a visit under the guise that he has a proposition to make. The Court of Owls then try to take out the Batman Who Laughs. However, he reveals that his true plan was actually to kill each high-ranking member of the Order. Heck, he even pushes a young girl off a wheelchair and hundreds of stories down a building. Truly diabolical. On top of that, the Batman Who Laughs summons another evil alternate Bruce Wayne. This time, this particular version happens to be the leader of the Court of Owls in his homeworld. Meanwhile, Batman manages to bring James and Jr. to the Batcave, and they get ready to activate the Last Laugh Protocol to prevent the Batman Who Laughs from spreading the serum across Gotham. However, Bruce realizes that the Batman Who Laughs was actually planning this all along. He wants him and Commissioner Gordon to activate the Last Laugh Protocol to help his own plans. So, OG Batman decides not to push through with it in spite of Jim's protests. All of a sudden, they receive a call from the Batman Who Laughs, who tells Bruce that the Last Laugh wasn't originally designed to help Gotham become a safe haven against disease and plague. In truth, it's actually a protocol created to turn the city into a fortress that could conquer other domains. The Batman Who Laughs tempts Bruce into proceeding with the Last Laugh's activation, and after things get heated between him and Commissioner Gordon, Batman gives in and proceeds with the initiative. A couple of hours pass and we find out that Bruce only activated the Last Laugh Protocol to give them more time to hunt down the Batman Who Laughs and bring him to justice. He explains this to Jim and James Jr., and they all agree to work together once more. But there's one huge problem. The Joker toxin has nearly taken over Bruce, and he's about 90% done becoming a new version of the Batman Who Laughs. Still, OG Batman bets that they'd solve everything before he goes fully bonkers. So he doesn't waste time and gives the Batman Who Laughs a call, tempting him into meeting him one-on-one, which he agrees to. Meanwhile, Jim and James Jr. are tasked with buying them more time by preventing the Grim Knight from taking control of Gotham's power grid. Shortly after, the Dark Knight meets with the Batman Who Laughs, and the two get into a grueling duel. At the same time, the Grim Knight also confronts Jim and James Jr., who have each received their own bat suits to help them with their mission. In the middle of their duel, we find out that OG Batman has transported a younger, alternate version of himself to Earth-Zero to use as bait, hoping that the Batman Who Laughs would turn towards the kid and target him instead. However, we find out that the Batman Who Laughs wasn't planning on harvesting any other Bruce Wayne's DNA. As we find out, he saved the best for last, as he jams a syringe into OG Batman's heart to take his genetic matter and use it for his serum. To make matters worse, the Batman Who Laughs knows that Bruce has run out of time, and the Joker toxin will take over his mind any second now, fully transforming him into another Batman Who Laughs. And with that, OG Bruce Wayne fully transforms into a new Jokerized Batman. On the other hand, the Batman Who Laughs pretty much welcomes Bruce into a whole new world of chaos and darkness. He tells him that they just need a few more minutes before the syringe processes OG Bruce's DNA, and it turns into another one of his serums. Here's the thing though, the Batman Who Laughs might be one evil dude, but he's a gracious one as well. As the Highlander says, there can be only one. So the Batman Who Laughs decides to take himself out, knowing full well that OG Bruce will continue his plan when he's gone. However, the Batman Who Laughs realizes that Bruce played a trick on him to force him to take himself out. So instead of shooting himself, he shoots Bruce. The alternate young Bruce Wayne tries to intervene, and the Batman Who Laughs sets his sights on the kid. He chases the boy, and they end up at Wayne Manor's graveyard. Now, if you thought Alfred was an absolute beast when he gave Bruce haymakers earlier, then you're about to find out just how much of a true soldier this butler is when he emerges to protect young Bruce and starts spraying the Batman Who Laughs with a shotgun. Then, OG Batman catches up to them and reveals that he set up traps in the graveyard. Specifically, he rigged the whole place with harpoon guns, which he then used to shoot and subdue the Batman Who Laughs. Bruce then goes full pro wrestling on his enemy by grabbing his mom's headstone and pummeling him with it. With the Batman Who Laughs defeated, Joker appears on the scene to fulfill his promise to Bruce, to kill him if he ever becomes fully Jokerized. And just as he promised, the Clown Prince of Crime shoots OG Batman. Sometime later, we discover that Bruce is now back to his old self, all thanks to the real MVP of this story, alternate young Bruce Wayne. It's then revealed that the boy's blood pretty much contained a counteragent to the Joker toxin, which Alfred and OG Bruce then used to heal his mind and body. On top of that, Alfred even did the boy a solid by warning the kid to not go to the theater with his parents anytime soon, which means there won't be a need for Batman in his homeworld. Bruce also decided to destroy all the remaining dark metal shards on Earth-Zero so that no one could ever summon creatures from the dark multiverse. As for the Batman Who Laughs, we find out that he's currently detained inside the Justice League's Hall of Justice to prevent him from ever wreaking havoc again. However, you can always trust Batman's enemies to eventually find their way out of imprisonment, which leads us to the God Who Laughs. Now, a lot of things happened in the DCU at large, in between the Batman Who Laughs' incarceration within the Hall of Justice and his eventual reemergence to become a primary threat yet again. But there are two important things that you should know here. One, it came to pass that a powerful godlike being named Perpetua, who's pretty much one of the creators of the DC multiverse, emerged and became the looming big baddie who was sent on bringing forth a version of the multiverse under her boot. Along the way, Lex Luthor became Perpetua's right-hand man. And two, the Batman Who Laughs was able to escape imprisonment, and he then had a war with Lex. He'd lose this battle and end up being presented to Perpetua for judgment. However, using his insane charms and a bit of diabolical sweet talk, the Batman Who Laughs managed to steal Lex's job and become Perpetua's new confidant. This all leads us to the story I'm about to tell you, and it's the culmination of the Batman Who Laughs saga. So listen up as I tell you all about Dark Knight's death metal. We find ourselves at a very dangerous time on Earth-Zero. That's because Perpetua has successfully taken over the universe and has proceeded to continue her conquest throughout the rest of the DC multiverse. In fact, things are so bad that only 8 of the original worlds in the multiverse are left. And in case you didn't know, there used to be 52 of these things floating around the vastness of the cosmos. To further complicate things, the Batman Who Laughs reshaped reality and twisted it to fit his sick tastes. And at the same time, the grinning maniac also finds time to oversee the day-to-day activities of his sector. This new twisted Earth-Zero. In Earth-Zero's new world order, most, if not all, of DC's champions have become slaves to Perpetua and the Batman Who Laughs. For one, Wonder Woman has been forced to serve the regime as a warden in one of their brutal prison camps, located on her mystical home island of Themyscira. Oh, and the Batman Who Laughs even formed a new version of the Justice League made up of the likes of Harley Quinn, Wonder Woman, Mr. Miracle, and Aquaman. Except, don't think for a second that they're free men and women. That's because they're more akin to puppets of the Batman Who Laughs, with each one of them being supervised by a Dark Knight. One day, Wonder Woman encounters a shady prisoner while on active duty as a warden. Curiously, she thinks she knows who this guy is. Shortly after that, we find out that OG Batman is one of the rare superheroes who still hasn't been captured by Perpetua and the Batman Who Laughs. Bruce gives Diana a secret call, notifying her of his plans to create his own universe, one where they get to save what little goodness remains. However, Wonder Woman is not on board with this, because she wants to save everything and everyone. The Batman Who Laughs catches wind of this little conversation, which forces OG Batman to use a Black Lantern ring to create a zombie squad to fight against his evil counterpart's minions. Somewhere else, the intergalactic bounty hunter, Lobo, finds an artifact and declares that it's time for him to come back. You know, because he's a bad boy who plays by his own rules. Later, Wonder Woman discovers that the mysterious inmate she encountered earlier is none other than Wally West, aka The Flash. Wally then catches Diana up to speed about what Perpetua and the Batman Who Laughs did to their world and the DC multiverse at large. Specifically, the Batman Who Laughs got his job as Perpetua's new right-hand man in exchange for giving her access to the dark multiverse resources. All of this leads Diana to come up with a plan to stop their adversaries by creating a multiversal event called an Anti-Crisis. But again, the Batman Who Laughs snoops in and finds out about this. So he pretty much blackmails Wonder Woman to stop whatever scheme she's brewing, or he'll take out her remaining friends, such as Swamp Thing. However, Wonder Woman has had enough of the Batman Who Laughs, so she straight up takes him out with an invisible chainsaw. Don't worry, this isn't where this story ends. We soon learn from one of Batman Who Laughs' underlings, Batmage, that Batman Who Laughs' true grand plan is to bring forth an entity called the Final Bruce Wayne. Meanwhile, OG Batman visits Sergeant Rock and drafts him to join the fight against Perpetua. Wonder Woman soon finds herself traveling with Wally to a place called Valhalla Cemetery, the final resting place of this universe's fallen heroes. There, they meet Bruce, who's accompanied by the deformed gunslinger Jonah Hex, as they try to raise more soldiers for their resistance army. Bruce expresses his disapproval of what Wonder Woman did to the Batman Who Laughs, knowing that he would just come back worse than ever. But Diana is having none of that and remains determined to save the entire multiverse. Specifically, Diana plans on going to the dark multiverse to get the energy that Perpetua stole and use Wally's powers to help restart everything. Ultimately, Diana, Bruce, and Barry Allen decide to band together and focus on going to New Apocalypse for now, with the goal of rescuing their remaining allies. While this is happening, we see that the Batman Who Laughs underlings, the Dark Knights, have successfully completed a procedure that allows them to transfer the mind of the Batman Who Laughs into a new body. This new body is infused with energies from the godlike superhero and Watchman, Dr. Manhattan. This turns the Batman Who Laughs into the so-called Final Bruce Wayne, also known as the godlike supervillain, the Darkest Knight. Unsurprisingly, Perpetua, who's currently in the middle of her own conquest of Earth-30, is made aware of the Batman Who Laughs' sudden power upgrade, so she warns him to keep things low profile. She does this because she's afraid that the Hands, who are pretty much Perpetua's family, might find out about this and end up foiling their plans. The Batman Who Laughs tells his boss that everything's cool on his end and not to worry. He then suddenly takes out each and every one of his minions, except for one, Robin, because instead of eliminating this crazy evil version of the Boy Wonder, he gives him a promotion. That is to say, Robin is dubbed as the Robin King and basically becomes Batman Who Laughs' right-hand man. It's here we find out the Batman Who Laughs' ultimate dream. Unlike Wonder Woman, who wants a fresh reboot of their ailing multiverse, this deranged version of Batman wants to create a multiverse made up of 52 Earths, with each one of them as nightmarish and brutal as the next. From here, the Batman Who Laughs formally rebrands himself as the Darkest Knight. While this is happening, we find out that DC's remaining champions are also making gradual progress with their own initiatives, as they manage to draft Harley Quinn to their cause. Oh, and they also find a robot that they get to ride. Sweet. Later, the Princess of Power and her ragtag crew of superheroes arrive on New Apocalypse to mount their rescue operation. Specifically, they're here to save DC's first icon, the Man of Steel himself. But it's not an easy task, as they have to face the Dark Father in the process, an evil version of Batman. Along the way, Swamp Thing senses it in his statement that the Batman Who Laughs has not truly perished. Even worse, he's coming back and has gained unimaginable power. They choose to table this development for now and focus on rescuing Superman first. They succeed in this regard not long after, as the team successfully fends off Dark Father and wallops him with the help of a newly rescued Man of Steel. Somewhere else, we discover that Lobo is actually under contract with Lex Luthor. And as we learn here, Lex has gotten his hands on all of the elements called the Death Metals, which he plans on using to tweak the multiverse according to his will. While all this is happening, the Darkest Knight and the Robin King arrive at Valhalla Cemetery to look for Wally. You see, the Darkest Knight doesn't just want to take out a potential threat. Wally actually possesses some of Dr. Manhattan's energy, and the Darkest Knight wants to take it for himself. Upon arriving, Barry Allen and Jay Garrick, aka the Golden Age Flash, help Wally as they literally run for their lives. Back at Wonder Woman's team, she takes the lead and goes over their game plan to put a stop to Perpetua, reiterating her intentions of breaking into the Darkest Knight's base of operations in order to travel to the Dark Multiverse and proceed with her anti-crisis initiative. On a brighter note, we get to learn that the cute alien starfish clone known as Jarro will be joining our heroes too. And don't let this one-eyed critter fool you. Jarro also happens to be the DCU's most powerful telepath. Eventually, Diana, Bruce, and Clark find themselves in a place called the Dark Crisis World, where multiversal incursions happen on a loop. Soon after, Wonder Woman ends up becoming a hostage of Superboy Prime, a classic deranged version of a young Superman. To make matters worse, we learn that Superboy Prime has made a deal with the Darkest Knight to help him create a universe of his own in exchange for capturing Diana and bringing her to him. As for the Darkest Knight, well, he's still busy chasing Wally, Jay, and Barry. However, the three Scarlet Speedsters know that it's only a matter of time before the Darkest Knight catches up to them. They attempt to contact Jarro to get an update on the rest of the team, but the cute telepathic star only has more bad news. Diana and her team have become unresponsive. The hits just keep on coming when you learn that Jonah Hex has fallen at the hands of the Robin King. However, don't worry guys, all hope is not lost. In fact, Wonder Woman manages to evade the Darkest Knight's grasp by using a move all too uncommon in superhero comics. Instead of punching her way out of trouble, she gets into an honest-to-goodness debate with Superboy Prime about the value of pain and loss, and how life is all about overcoming challenges and all that jazz. It's super effective too, as Superboy Prime recognizes the error of his ways and decides to free Diana. Not only that, but he destroys his device, which then allows her, Batman, and Superman to get a power boost that would help them deal with their respective adversaries. With this, everything seems to be going great now. They've got the energy they need to transfer to Wally, who will then use it to hit the reset button on the multiverse and put a stop to Perpetua. So, our heroes return to Earth Zero to do just that. But then, a shock hits them when Wally informs the group that their plan didn't work. All of a sudden, the Darkest Knight emerges and reveals that he rigged everything, knowing that Wally might try something like this. So instead of remaking the multiverse, Wally just inadvertently sent all of his energy to the Darkest Knight, which allows him to realize his final form, that of a bona fide god. With all the pieces in place, the Darkest Knight proceeds to enact his plan of creating his freaky multiverse of 52 nightmarish worlds, a multiverse he calls the Last 52. As you'd expect, it's time for a superhero on supervillain showdown. So Wonder Woman and the remaining champions of the DCU tussle with the Darkest Knight and the Robin King. It is soon revealed that the Darkest Knight also has another layer to his grand scheme, and that's to take out his boss Perpetua, in order to make him the sole superpower in this creepy multiverse he's planning to build. Soon, the Darkest Knight gets bored of tussling with DC's heroes after realizing they've become weak sauce. So he just decides to leave and spend his time more productively elsewhere, trapping Wonder Woman and the others in a heated battle against Castle Bat itself, which has transformed into a giant Batman-shaped golem. Soon enough, the Darkest Knight and Perpetua get into it with what could be best described as a snowball fight, but with literal planets instead of clumps of snow. In the meantime, Lex reveals his own role in this ongoing war. And you might be surprised, but Mr. Luthor is actually doing something good for the DCU this time around. In fact, he's working with Wonder Woman. But before we get to that, we have to know what he hired Lobo for. To be specific, Lobo was tasked with gathering shards of an artifact called Element X, aka the 10th metal. The same metal DC's champions used to defeat Barbados and the Batman Who Laughs in the past. Lobo succeeded in gathering all the remaining shards of Element X, but Lex knows they need that extra push to bring down Perpetua and the Darkest Knight. This comes in the form of a machine that DC's champions must craft inside the World Forge, the source of all universes. Once that's done, this contraption will provide an untangling effect in the multiverse, which will allow each and every being in it to generate anti-crisis energy. They could then use the anti-crisis energy to counter Perpetua's own energy and make everything right again. On a more personal and sadder note, Wonder Woman discovers a couple of disturbing details about her two closest friends, Batman and Superman. On one hand, the Man of Steel reveals that his body is slowly being taken over by the anti-life equation. As such, it wouldn't be long before he loses himself. On the other hand, Batman reveals that he's actually a dead man walking. He lost his life during their first tussle with the denizens of the Dark Multiverse, and the only thing keeping him alive is the Black Lantern ring he possesses. Regardless, both Supes and Bats are resolute in helping Diana fulfill her goal of saving everything and everyone. So they ultimately decide to enact Lex's plan. To properly proceed with this, they come up with a couple of side quests to keep the Darkest Knight at bay long enough for Wonder Woman to get to the World Forge and proceed with her part of the plan. First, they create an entire army of Lobos made from OG Lobos DNA. These guys will then accompany Wonder Woman to the World Forge. Then there's Superman, and he's had an important part to play: to destroy Earth-Zero. You see, Earth-Zero, aka the mainland DCU, pretty much works like the heart of the entire DC multiverse. So if they destroy it, the Darkest Knight's ability to channel Dr. Manhattan's powers to alter reality would be hindered, which would give Wonder Woman ample time to do her thing. With everything in motion, the Darkest Knight senses what DC's heroes are attempting to do. This effectively divides his attention between them and his current enemy, Perpetua. So to deal with the heroes, the Darkest Knight grabs several planets he crafted along with the monsters inhabiting each of them and hurls them towards our heroes. All the while, the Man of Steel and the Caped Crusader mount a counteroffensive against the Darkest Knight's minions. In addition to that, they've successfully cut off the Darkest Knight from his godly abilities, which means he has no reserves to send should this evil army fall. As for the Darkest Knight, well, he shows Perpetua that he's not going to play second fiddle to her anymore, as he absolutely thwarts her. Knowing her inevitable defeat, Perpetua tries to bluff her way and tells the Darkest Knight that her family, the Hands, will come for him next. And in one of the most cold-blooded sequences the Batman Who Laughs has ever been in, he pretty much replies by telling Perpetua something along the lines of, "I'm not trapped in here with you, you're trapped in here with me." Simply put, he's not afraid of any god because he knows he can flatline each and every one of them. In fact, that's exactly what he does to Perpetua soon after this conversation. Not only that, but he even sucked all of her energy after putting her in a body bag. As a result, the Darkest Knight becomes hands down the apex predator of the DC multiverse. While this is happening, Wonder Woman and her Lobo clone army witness that the way to the World Forge is filled with nightmares. Understandable considering that the Batman Who Laughs is currently the ruling power throughout all of existence. In a clutch move, the Lobo clone army gives up their own lives to allow Diana to reach the heart of the World Forge. The problem is, Diana doesn't really know what machine she should craft using Element X. However, when she realizes that all she needs is the power of truth, something dawns on her. A light bulb sparks inside Wonder Woman's mind and everything comes into place. That is to say, she now knows what device she has to build to finally put a stop to the Darkest Knight. Shortly after, we see the Darkest Knight overseeing his freaky forces against DC's heroes. Our champions lose morale, aware that they're fighting a losing battle. All of a sudden, they collectively stop when each of them is shaken with memories, visions, and most important of all, feelings. This makes the heroes realize that Wonder Woman has successfully untangled the multiverse. And as if on cue, they instantly get a second wind when a shining Diana emerges from the ground, carrying the power of truth. And by the power of truth, I mean a literal supercharged chainsaw. Well, that and the actual literal concept of truth coursing through her veins. At this point, Wonder Woman has become something more than your run-of-the-mill god. Still, she's well aware that her current power levels are not enough to take down the Darkest Knight. In fact, even the Darkest Knight himself knows this, so he takes advantage and attempts to throw Diana off her game with some good old-fashioned trash talk. When that doesn't work, he uses his powers to divide her attention by attacking her friends and allies. It's super effective too, as Wonder Woman gets properly distracted, allowing the Darkest Knight to strike her. And guys, believe me when I say that we are not making this up. The Darkest Knight hits Wonder Woman so hard that she gets sent to the late Jurassic era of Earth's history. The Darkest Knight follows suit and shoots for a takedown. Meanwhile, in the present, the rest of DC's remaining Resistance fighters continue to duke it out with the Dark Multiverse's spawn. And just to show you how desperate the superheroes are, the entire Bat family has been forced to work with the Joker to fend off the Robin King. And that's something you don't see every day. At the same time, the Man of Steel and his fellow Kryptonite-themed heroes are locked in battle against a last 52 multiverse version of Clark Kent, calling himself the Last Son. Eventually, all of DC's remaining warriors manage to gain some ground against the Darkest Knight's forces. Diana and the Darkest Knight soon arrive at the point of origin of the first ever multiverse that was created. There, they see Perpetua's giant disembodied hand suspended during the moment she crafted the first multiverse. The Darkest Knight tells Diana that victory would be hollow, even if she and her allies achieve it. As he puts it, Perpetua's extended family, the Hands, would just emerge and wreck everything. Wonder Woman, of course, doesn't believe the Darkest Knight. After all, he's the enemy, so she uses her own powers to look into this detail and finds out that he's not lying. Things aren't going so hot in the present either, as we see that the Darkest Knight's army has tipped the scales of battle once again in their favor. As a matter of fact, a lot of iconic characters like Batgirl, Joker, and Steel fall in battle. Back at the heart of the first multiverse, the Darkest Knight tempts Diana into joining his side. According to him, he could help her create a multiverse that could stick it to the Hands. But of course, he stresses the fact that he'll be the head honcho ruling over all this. Wonder Woman is so outraged by this proposal that she literally grabs Perpetua's suspended hand and slaps the Darkest Knight in his stupid face with it. Wonder Woman gains a much-needed eco-boost with every hit she sends the Darkest Knight's way. And in another turn of events that's not outrageous at all, she uppercuts the Darkest Knight so hard that he gets sent to the end of space-time where he crashes into the solar system's dying sun. From there, Diana decides she's had enough of this dark multiversal lunatic, so she drives the Darkest Knight's face into the sun. However, just as she gets ready to seal the Darkest Knight's fate, she notices that the Hands have appeared and are looming behind them. In the present, we discover that all of DC's champions have fallen on Earth-Zero, all except for one, Batman. The Robin King talks smack at him as he prepares to take Bruce's life. But the Dark Knight uses his Black Lantern ring to raise an undead army of his own for another round of hardcore fisticuffs. Meanwhile, Lex Luthor comes in clutch in outer space as he uses his power suit to create a black hole that saves Superman and takes him and the last son out. At the same time, at the end of the universe, Diana can feel that the Darkest Knight is starting to get desperate as he pretty much begs Wonder Woman to join his side and eliminate the Hands. But she's having none of that junk, so she drives his face harder into the sun until the Darkest Knight, the maniac formerly known as the Batman Who Laughs, is no more. In the aftermath, the Hands take on the form of Wonder Woman's Golden Age iteration and have a little chat with Diana. They tell her that they're super impressed with her performance and decide to throw the DC Universe a bone. That is to say, they allow her to restart the multiverse, but it comes at a price. Diana will basically become a cosmic entity from now on, who'll keep watch over this new multiverse. With that, the DC Universe is finally saved.